What's happening, everybody? It's Damron. We're playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare, the 2019 version. We are on the second to last mission of our complete campaign playthrough, grabbing all the achievements and showing you the best way to do everything. So we are on the second to last mission, Going Dark. This is going to be the longest video of the series because there's two achievements in this mission that we're going to get that are probably the most tedious of the achievements in the game, and that is Lights Out and We Own the Night. So let's talk about Lights Out first, and that tasks you with turning off the power to 4 buildings within this mission. Now the first one is story related, you can't miss this, so this is kind of right in the beginning of the level. Price will instruct you to turn the power off, and then as we go into kind of Barkov's compound, there's actually 4 more that we can turn off. So there's a total of 5 possibilities, and I'll show you those as we're progressing forward. And as we're moving towards this area, you're about to kind of rappel down. You're going to see this large open area. This is our arena. You've got a large clock tower. I'm looking out, a church off in the distance, a pool house to our right, as well as Barkov's main building, and we are going to be tasked with killing all the enemies in those sections without them calling for backup. And that doesn't include Barkov's house. That's kind of the last section of the mission. You have to clear all the enemies in the church, clock tower, and the pool without anyone calling for backup. So we're going to talk a lot about this. I'm going to show you the path that I take, but keep in mind that says without anyone calling for backup. You can briefly be spotted as long as you kill that enemy pretty quickly and they don't call for backup. There's a few things that are going to make this achievement significantly easier, and again, I'm going to go through all of that. So this is where you're going to kind of enter into this area. The first thing is we're going to kind of hang to the right hand side. We're going to cover the pool first, or the pool house. So you can either go through that gate right there to the left, but I don't recommend it. I like to just go up on these sandbags and hop over the wall because there's 2 enemies at a small little campfire sitting right beside this van. So hop up on that wall. You can take them out, even though the achievement says, you know, it says at the church and clock tower, but that does include the enemies on the outer side. So if you go this way, you should see the next power switch right there on the side of the pool house. So go ahead and turn that off, and that's 2 of 4 that we've knocked out for that. Now you can enter the pool house one of 2 ways. I don't like to go through the roof entrance. I'll show you up here. There's some skylight entrances. You can kind of shoot through here and try to take out these enemies, but it's a little bit blurry, and you'll probably, you know, get spotted if you do that. So I don't like to use this. I recommend staying away from trying to enter the pool house from the top. Instead, let's go back where we turn the power off. A lot of the times when you turn it off, an enemy will come out that I just jumped on right there. That was right beside that door. And so now we're going to go into the pool house itself. And as you're kind of doing this playthrough, a couple things to keep in mind. If you do get spotted, you need to quickly revert to your last checkpoint. Okay, as long as you revert to your last checkpoint and you are at a checkpoint where you haven't been spotted yet, you can still unlock the achievement. So keep that in mind. The other thing that you want to do as you're kind of going through these areas is just kind of take your time. Okay, you see, I'm just kind of taking my time. I'm making sure I'm in a position where I can take out the enemies without them alerting each other or kind of getting freaked out in, you know, calling for help, I guess, so to speak. So I'm just going to take my time. You can crouch a lot. The biggest thing about this achievement that's going to help you out the most is as you clear out a building, Price is going to tell you to like talk to the hostages. You don't want to do that, okay? If you don't talk to the hostages, then more hostiles will not come into the area. There's actually a tactical unit that will come into the area that will make your life significantly harder if you talk to the hostages. So what we want to do is we want to play and get this achievement before we talk to any of the hostages in any of the areas. We're going to go back after we get the achievement and get that. There's actually an enemy down that courtyard I was just aiming at that I missed, but we'll come back and get it later. So I'll talk about that in a minute, just how to come back. The other thing that I want to talk about briefly as we're kind of making our way through this level is to turn your subtitles on. It's really going to help you because as you're moving around, sometimes you might be like, man, is there anybody left? Have I fully cleared this area out? And having your subtitles on is a very good way to kind of see if you have found everybody or not, because you can hear people talking, and then you know, okay, there's an enemy here. And also, if you have a headset on, you know, with surround sound or really good sound, you're going to be able to hear exactly where those enemies are coming coming from, and you'll probably be even be able to hear some of the footsteps. The other thing that you want to do as you're in the outdoor areas that you're seeing me do is shooting lights. Any opportunity that you have to take out a light, go ahead and do that. That's going to make you less, being able to be spotted by the enemies as we're working through. So now we're going to head into the clock tower. The clock tower is kind of this large building. The power to this is on the left hand side of the front. You can see it right here. You can't really miss this one. But go ahead and kill the lights to the clock tower, and that's actually our third power switch that we've taken out. So we're going to go ahead and enter into the window right here. And again, there's a decent amount of enemies in the clock tower section. There's not a bunch of enemies in the outdoor section. So you saw me take out those two guys at the front of the clock tower, but there's there's not a lot of enemies kind of patrolling outside. But once you get inside, again, we're going to crouch, just take your time. So we're going to make our way through this building again. So right there was a scenario where I actually heard him on my headset walking outside. I was like, oh, someone's walking behind me. So that's the kind of good aspect of saying having a headphones that are going to have surround sound. Not necessary, but it is good. And again, the subtitles are really going to help you as well. So there is an upstairs area. You saw me just bypass those stairs. I actually come back to the upstairs later. I kind of totally missed the upstairs, but we'll come back to it. So keep in mind there is an upstairs in this area. If you're here, you can go ahead and clear that out and not have to come back later. But I thought it's also a good opportunity to show you how, if you feel like you missed something, just come back. A lot of the times, other people have said if you want to leave the guy that's yelling at the hostage, personally, I feel like the impact of him yelling is very minimal. So I just kind of take out everybody that I see. That's kind of how I rolled. So I kind of cleared out this bottom floor, and now I make my way to the church after this. I don't really think that, especially on recruit difficulty, that's another thing I'll mention. I came back on this on recruit difficulty. You can certainly combine this with your veteran playthrough because you're basically playing stealth, so it's not really that difficult. I don't think they really spot you that much easier, but it's certainly a lot more stress-free to kind of come through here on recruit and clear this out. So now I've cleared out the bottom floor of the clock tower. Keep in mind there is a second floor to the clock tower, and once I realize that, I'll come back to it. So now we're going to head to the church itself, and that's the building that has the kind of dome structure off into the distance that you can see to my left. So we're going to approach that from these hedges, and again, as I'm making my way around, I tend to just recommend just shooting all the lights. It's just going to help you be less spotted. We don't have to worry about Barkov's house. Remember that. We do not have to worry about Barkov's house for this achievement. Now, the outdoor section of the church, this is the area that's going to surprise you. There's a lot more enemies out here than you realize. In fact, you'll be clearing this area out and you'll be like, oh crap, there's another guy. You'll hear him or something, and you'll look around and you're like, oh, there's another guy right beside me. So I come this way because it's where the third power switch is, but we're coming through the cemetery. There's usually one or two guys that are going to come through here. I think there's one right here, and another guy's going to spot him. I'm going to take him out to the left here. So there's usually 2-3 guys in the cemetery. There can be more. That's the other thing about this achievement, right? It's not static. These guys are moving around, so it's not like you can be like, oh, he's here, he's here, he's here. You're just gonna have to explore a bit, and there's a high potential that you might miss somebody outside, and that's okay. Don't stress out about it too much because I'm showing you all the areas that you need to go to, and as long as you have those subtitles on, eventually those subtitles are going to stop coming up and eventually say, okay, this area is fully cleared out. But as we come to the cemetery, we're going to hang to the left, and we're going to go kind of in the underground entrance of the church. To the left of that underground entrance is our next power switch that we can disable in order to get the lights out achievement. So if you've been following along with this, that's actually number 4, and you should pop the achievement right there. There is a 5th one, again, outside of Barkov's house. I think initially the achievement was meant for the 4 in this area and not the one that's part of the story, but nonetheless, with the one that's mandatory, there's 5 to get. So coming up into the kind of main cathedral area of the church, there's several enemies in this area, so be careful because they are pretty close together. So keep that in mind. The hostage is going to be right here. Again, do not talk to that guy. I highly recommend, if you're going for this achievement, just don't talk to the hostages. That is the biggest thing that's going to help you because there are going to be less enemies patrolling the streets, and the tactical is not going to be driving around the streets, and he drives everywhere. So we're just not going to mess with it. So we're just going to, keep moving on here. After we've cleared out this kind of bottom level of the church, we're going to head back outside. There's generally some enemies that are going to be on the road on the other side, you know, the non-cemetery side of the church. So that's where I'm going to go next. But again, what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of going slow, just making sure I'm checking my corners. Again, like I said, though, if you do get spotted, feel free to restart that checkpoint. But you get checkpoints pretty frequently on this level. So if you do hear somebody call for backup, you need to immediately restart your checkpoint. The last thing you want to do is get a checkpoint after that, and then all of a sudden, you know, now you got to restart the whole level. So here now I'm coming out to the other side of the church, which is the main road. These enemies do count. The enemies that are kind of patrolling the 3 areas that we have to kill all the enemies at, they do count for the We Own the Night achievement. So you definitely want to come out here and kind of make sure you've cleared everybody out. See, there's just every time I play this, I'm like, man, there's way more enemies in the church than I always expect. So again, if you consider the 3 on this side and the 3 on the other side, we took out 6. So at this point, I've been to all the places, and I was like, all right, I'm missing a few. So I'm heading back up to the pool area. Remember, this is actually to the left of that gate. We hopped over the wall to the right. There's a small building on the left of the pool house as well, where it's not actually part of the pool house, but this counts for enemies at the pool. There's a couple enemies in this small building, so I missed those. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out. So this is the area what I was talking about. If you've cleared all those areas out, now just kind of go back through those sections and listen, look at your subtitles, and try to figure out the areas that you might have missed. So for me, this was an area I missed, right? So I came back here, I'm listening, I'm like, okay, there's some enemies in this small building, let me go ahead and clear them out, right? So I did that. This wasn't too bad. I think it was just like 1 or 2 enemies in this section. So you can see where I'm at, right? I'm right outside the front of the clock tower. So the other one that I missed that I mentioned earlier was actually a guy outside the pool house. So if you go, you know, outside the pool house in that courtyard, I was like, oh, there's some guy down here, but I missed him. That's what we're going to do now. So I'm coming out this wall. There's actually a guy down over the wall that I missed. And you can see him down here, right here, just kind of patrolling around. And I totally missed him kind of the first time, but here he is kind of patrolling around this small little courtyard. So go ahead and take him out. Again, that's like on the far side of the pool house that we exited initially. Also, more times than not, even though you're pretty careful in the outdoor section, so this is the, you know, the clock tower here, there's a guy just hanging out here. Somehow he survived all of this. He's not spooked. There's dead bodies everywhere. So just keep in mind, there could be a guy just kind of roaming around. The last place that I missed is the 2nd floor of the clock tower. So that's the hostage there. So there's stairs on either side of this area. So you'll see me kind of go up there. Again, I'm just kind of looking around, but there is an there's an upstairs section of the clock tower. So we're going to go to that right now. And up there, there's 2 or 3 enemies. And that's actually the last enemies for me in this playthrough. And ultimately, it's about taking your time. So as soon as I came up here, I saw the subtitles, right? I've mentioned that. I'm like, okay, good. There's some up here. I've checked everywhere at this point. So upstairs in the clock tower, there's a couple enemies. Again, this will be the last ones for me. And then I pop the achievement. You should pop it instantly so you'll know when you got it. And then once you've got the achievement, now you can talk to the hostages, and that's going to spawn in some more enemies. That'll spawn in that tactical, and basically you now can progress the mission. But again, don't talk to the hostages until you pop the achievement. As long as you haven't been spotted, you will pop the achievement in the mission after you've cleared out all of these areas. Okay, so you know, I'm kind of going in this upstairs area, as in, you know, the hostage is right below me. My last enemy's going to be right here to the right. So we're going to take him out. Again, it's all about just kind of taking your time. This isn't a hard achievement. It's just about taking your time. Again, playing on recruit kind of makes it a lot easier, but as long as you take your time, crouch, and just, you know, it's going to take you like 15-20 minutes or so, just kind of cruising around, making sure you're not getting spotted. But eventually you're going to take them all out, just as I did here, and you'll pop the achievement, We Own the Night. So the only other thing to show you is as you're kind of approaching Barkov's house, is the 5th possible power switch in the game. So it's actually on the left side of the house. So right to my right is the courtyard. So if you're facing the front of the house, this is going to be on the left wall. So you can, turn that off. And again, that's 5 options throughout the level. You just need to hit 4 in order to get the lights out achievement. So I hope you guys found that helpful. This is the second to last mission. This is definitely the longest. Wanted to show you kind of all the areas to make sure you kill everybody for the We Own the Night achievement. I hope you guys found that helpful. I've been really enjoying this game. I hope you have too. It's really fun. So hopefully we'll see you in the last mission, and we'll be nabbing all the achievements in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019.